Welcome back to the Fast Life podcast, which is brought to you by Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. There is no mistaking a Simpson out on the road. Their iconic, aggressive style has always stood out amongst other helmets with many different models, finishes, and visor options to fit your taste. Head on over to SimpsonMotorcycleHelmets.com to check out everything they got for you, and don't forget to give them a follow on Instagram at Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. On today's episode, we have the one and only Darryl Bassani talking about how he started Bassani Xhaust and where everything came from and how it's evolved and changed over the years. And honestly, guys, I'm really excited for you guys to hear this. So before we jump into it, we got to check out these sponsors, and then we're going to get right into this episode with Mr. Bassani. House of Harley Davidson, located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, has your HD covered with the performance upgrades we all want, along with service, sales, and a stacked parts department. Head on over to houseofharley.com where you can order the parts you need for your bike, along with all the best gear and clothing available. Drop the Fast Life offer code to save yourself 13% on your online purchases, and give these guys a follow at House of Harley on Instagram. Lexan Moto is my Bluetooth headset company and has been for over 3 years now. The quality and sound and battery life make those long days on the open road much more enjoyable. Their latest headset, the G16, is designed to make group rides much better with a 16-rider comm system, Bluetooth 5.0 music sharing, and fast USB-C charging. Among the many things Lexan does for our motor community, they also offer the best customer service in the industry. The team at Lexan just dropped their new Lexan Smart Tire Pump as well, which is a portable tire pump that can fit easily in your saddlebags. Check out Lexan-moto.com to see all the awesome products, which are all designed to make life on two wheels better. And don't forget to drop the Fast Life offer code at checkout to save yourself 15%. And lastly, give these guys a follow on Instagram at Lexan Moto. thundermax and their ECM computers are designed to provide your EFI-equipped Harley Davidson with the most advanced auto tuning on the market. And they just released their modules for the 2021 and up HD models. A thundermax ECM eliminates tuning hassles when upgrading your exhaust or air cleaner, or when adding a cam or big bore kit. thundermax is also in the suspension game with their iRide rear suspension. This is a performance air ride which gives you the ability to adjust many aspects from the handlebar mounted touchscreen. This rear suspension is the best of both worlds. Check out these products at shoptmax.com and use offer code FASTLIFE to save yourself 10% off, and follow thundermax EFI on Instagram. I have been riding with Lucky Dave's seats and handlebars on almost all my bikes since 2016, and I'm happy to announce their partnership with us here at the Fast Life podcast. Their seats have always been the perfect fit for my ass, and with that trademark styling that I have come to love from the LD brand. Lucky Dave's also has some of the most dope handlebar options, from their classic San Diego bar to their Peacemaker bar and riser combos. They got what you need. I'm personally running the Peacemaker bars on both my T-Sport and Bagger. Head on over to luckydaves.com to check out all of their options for your HD, and grab yourself some swag while you're there. And lastly, give my guys a follow on Instagram at Lucky Daves. Now here we go with Darryl Bassani.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
Well, Darryl, correct?
Correct.
Thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. Had an awesome morning getting to walk around the entire facility here. It's like a quarter mile long. There's so much going on. There's just all built by hand for the most part. You know what I mean? Welded by hand. I mean, it's an amazing facility with all the stuff you got going on.
All of our robots have names.
Yeah, exactly.
And 2 arms and 2 legs and 2 eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
And they talk.
They have problems too.
Yeah.
Well, for everybody out here, just walking around and hearing some of the stuff that Gary's talked about, your start is, how long has this brand been a thing? You know what I mean? Exhaust, and where'd you get your start, or how'd you start this thing?
1969 is when we officially became a quote-unquote business with a business license. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, for probably 2 or 3 years, I was in my parents' garage, mm-hmm. building stuff, going to school, but building, back then, two-stroke expansion chambers.
Okay.
That's where I started. And
and that's that type of exhaust there?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Cones, head pipes, rear cones, stingers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Those are pretty tricky and a lot more complicated than, say, a Harley exhaust system, where with a 4-cycle exhaust, you're just concerned with diameter and length of the head pipes and then some kind of a muffler or a collector. But with a 2-stroke, you've got the head pipe, the front cone, sometimes a second front cone that's a little bit steeper, what we called a constant section, which is like a tubular section, the rear cone, and then whatever they call it, the stinger, which is like the outlet.
Yeah.
They were much harder.
It's like a pie cut system, but of also expanding, like each pipe has a different diameter on each side, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It's a constantly expanding thing up to what we call the constant section, and the rear cone closes it from whatever the primary diameter was down to the stinger diameter, which typically would be like between an inch and maybe an inch and a quarter, inch and 3/8 for bigger bikes. But like I said, started in '69 and with 2-stroke expansion chambers, and then I think about 1971 started doing some 4-stroke stuff, single cylinder, dirt bikes, Hondas, Kawasaki, stuff like that. And then we were actually building Harley exhaust in the 70s and 80s for XR 750s, which a lot of people may not know are Harley's race bikes. They're 750, a V-twin. It's basically a Sportster engine. That's what the Sportster engine came from. Four cams. Like I said, 750 cc's. We were building exhaust for those. We made pipes for both Mert Lawwill and Carl Patrick at the time. Carl Patrick was the engine builder and bike guy for Hank Scott, who became the first rider in the history of American motorcycle competition to lap a 1-mile dirt track at over 100 miles an hour.
Wow.
And that was with our exhaust.
Badass.
We were pretty proud of that. And those 45 cubic inch Harley motors on gas made over 100 horsepower at the rear wheel. Very powerful bikes. And light too.
How was what was the exhaust industry like in the 70s though, with the type of bikes that were coming out? I mean,
primarily 2 strokes to start with.
Yeah.
Honda CRs and that kind of stuff. In fact, in the day, a lot of the top motocross riders used our exhaust on their bikes. National champions ran our stuff. Then in the later 70s, mid to later 70s, the Japanese companies came out with their inline 4-cylinder bikes, like the Honda. The first one was the Honda CB750, which kind of was a world changer. Yeah. That pretty much put the last nail in the coffin for the English bikes like Triumph, BSA, Triumph. Yes, exactly. And it was kind of a sad day. I own a couple of Triumphs myself, both a 67 Bonneville and a 67 TT Special. And the TT I've had since it was brand new. I used to ride that back and forth to school.
That's wild.
And then, of course, then the Kawasaki came out with the original Z1 903. And so we started building 4-into-1 systems for those bikes. And then that morphed, those were megaphone, mostly chrome, that morphed into what we called superbike pipes, which again were 4-into-1, but they had a 3-inch tailpipe going into a 4-inch muffler section. And they had we developed an inner collector. So it was kind of a collector inside of the tailpipe itself that was smaller, that was a power enhancer. We did a lot of testing at Orange County Raceway back then. We could rent the track with the lights and everything for it's either $50 or $75 a day. So,
damn.
Yeah, so we'd go down there with a truck full of stuff and a bike, and
change
run
it out
and make changes and started learning things about head pipe length, collector diameter, that kind of stuff, and took that. That's where the Superbike pipe came from. Was the testing at Orange County Raceway, and in fact, in 1979, Reg Pridmore won the Superbike championship with our pipe on his bike, the Vetter sponsored bike, and so we, I like to look at us and think about us as being probably the only exhaust system company that was involved in as many forms of competition as we were.
Yeah.
Drag racing, motocross, half mile, dirt track, TT, mile racing, road racing, you name it, pretty much everything we competed in. We had people, we won championships. Jimmy White won I don't know how many championships on three-wheelers for both Honda and Kawasaki. We were invited, I guess we were, invited to a thing up in Alaska. They invited the top teams, three-wheel teams from down here, actually all over the country, guys from Texas were there, Oklahoma, and in the John L. Sullivan Arena, and it was going to be 3 nights of racing. And we had just gotten on with Kawasaki. We thought if we could go up there and win one night, we'd feel like we were okay, that we'd done it. We showed Kawasaki that we were capable, right?
Yeah.
Well, we won the first night. It was like, yeah, we can go home now. Well, we won the second night. And after the second night, the Honda people took us out and got us a little bit tweaked on these colored drinks. And the next day we got up, we didn't feel so great. So we went hiking on a glacier because we wanted to feel better.
Yeah.
And we thought, we're going to go beat them tonight just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
Just to show them that we can do it, and we did.
Nice.
We won all 3 nights.
Swept it. Yeah.
Swept it. It was pretty bitchin'. But and then in the 90s, Carl Patrick had been telling me since the 70s to get into the Harley business. But back then, Harleys weren't like they are today. You didn't have different baggers and Dynas and Softails and Sportsters. You kind of had these things made by Harley Davidson that had a V-twin engine and that people kind of fixed up, but it's not like today.
Yeah.
And we were making exhaust systems for bikes that you literally took off the stock exhaust and bolted this thing back on, our pipe back on, using the stock mounting points and all that kind of stuff. So we made a pipe for a specific bike that bolted onto that motorcycle. Where guys in back then that made Harley stuff made these kind of just straight pipes.
Yeah, slash cuts and
saw cuts and slash cuts and that kind of stuff with these, I know it wasn't that, but it looked like plumber's tape for brackets. It was a bracket, a universal kind of thing with a pipe clamp around the pipe, this thing with a bunch of holes in it. You just bolted that up to whatever fit on the bike. I thought, we don't do stuff like that. We make model-specific things. Well, then a fellow at the White Brothers, Denny Berg, approached us and said, hey, I got this idea for Harley pipes, different than anything anybody's ever done. Can you help me? Of course we can.
Yeah.
Because Denny and I had a relationship for a long time. And they wound up being called Porker Pipes. And it was a huge brand for a while. Took White Brothers through the ceiling with Harley stuff. And we made all of those things along with Denny Berg and envisioned this Porker thing to be this standalone brand. Well, it became that. Opened my eyes to the Harley world.
Yeah.
And then in 1999, we started making Harley stuff with the Bassani name.
Because you were just manufacturing for a lot of other brands at that point, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, we and in the time when the federal government decided that three-wheelers were unsafe by design, even though they did a bunch of tests and found out they weren't, you just needed an education because it's like riding a tricycle. They will tip over, but if you know what you're doing, you're okay. And then they didn't like what they called hyper bikes, which some people call crotch rockets.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, you're killing all our kids. No, they're not.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, you get drunk and go try and ride this thing at 150 miles an hour, you might get hurt. But use your head, you'll be all right. And So it hurt the motorcycle industry tremendously in about 1986, 87. And so we got into the what we call the job shop part of the business, which is making things for people. We did a lot of automotive stuff. Came to the realization that these guys, there were better ways of doing things and better products to be made. So we started doing that. And before the economy collapsed in 2007, automotive was the biggest part of the business. And then when the economy collapsed and people couldn't borrow money to buy new cars, the automotive side of the business fell away. But just prior to that, we'd hooked up with Drag Specialties, and for our Harley Davidson, because we'd been doing Harley, like I said, since '99. In 2000, and Drag had been after us since, I don't know, 2003 or so. Talked to us at the V-Twin Expo.
Yeah.
Hey, how you guys doing? If you're ever interested in talking, we're here. Well, come 2007, we had a program that was not doing as well as we would have hoped, and so we called Drag, and we've never looked back. We're exclusive to them, and we've gone through the roof now with our Harley stuff. And we still do a little bit of automotive, still do job shop, but the Harley Davidson side of the business is now the biggest.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So, back up for a minute. When you first started this thing in the '60s, were you just welding your own pipes and just doing this so that's kind of your trade from back then? Is just
I learned how to weld. I was an engineering student, and some of the classes we had to take were machine shop and welding and stuff like that. So I learned how to weld. Well, when I started racing, dirt motocross and TT, and I realized pretty quickly that the pipe was a very important part of the two-stroke performance package.
Yeah.
I bought a couple of them, and I wasn't very happy. So I was going to buy another one, and the guy wouldn't guarantee it. He said, "Oh, no, I guarantee it." Well, what if I don't like it? He goes, "No, you will." But what if I don't? Can I bring it back? No. That was it. I didn't buy it. I made one like it. And it didn't work as well as I'd hoped. I wound up making 15 pipes for my bike before I got one that I was happy with. And what I used to do was buy some metal at a local supply place and ask the teachers at Fullerton College if it would be okay if I came down there at night after everybody had gone home and used the equipment, because I didn't have a shear, rollers, or anything like that. And they said, "You know where the lights are, turn them off when you leave, don't get caught."
Do you still have that bike? The bike that you made?
Unfortunately, no. I sold it to an employee, and I wish I would have never had done that. But I wasn't racing anymore, and I didn't think I needed it, and so I let it go.
Oh, it sucks.
But yeah, that's where it started. And I rolled the cones down there, finished them in my parents' garage, welded them, oxyacetylene welded them together, and went out to Elsinore Raceway. And I'd been working at Douglas Aircraft in the engineering department. Well, they cut our whole department. The DC-10 didn't come along as quickly as they would have liked, so they laid all of us off. And we knew things were getting bad when the job shoppers went first, and then they started picking on us.
Yeah.
And they cleaned out our department. And it was hard to get a job back then. I didn't want to flip tacos or flip burgers because I was an engineering guy.
Yeah.
And couldn't find anything, so I was out to the races and I was making these pipes for myself, and people would come up to me and go, "Where'd you get that?" "I made it." "Would you make me one?" "Yeah." And it'd take me I don't know, best part of a day to make one of these things. I'd take it out the next weekend and let them, and put it on their bike and let them try it. If they liked it, they could buy it. If they didn't, I'd take it back. And started from there, and then that was in the late 60s. I'm sorry, yeah, that was mid to late 60s. By 69, I actually was in a shop making pipes, and started off with Hodaka, then Yamaha DT1 Enduros, then 125 and 175 Yamaha Enduros. We started doing the European bike, CZ, Husky, and we got a reputation because I know this sounds crazy, but we actually went out and tested these things.
Yeah.
We'd build a pipe because of what I learned when I built the first 15 for my own bike, that you can't hit the nail on the head the first time.
Yeah.
And so we'd build one, take it out and try it. Let one of the other guys at the shop try it. What do you think? A little soft here. It's like this. That okay. Let's try something different. And we'd sometimes wind up making 8 or 10 different pipes to get one that we were happy with that worked. Well, because we did that, we attracted top name riders, and they'd come and go, "Hey, we want a pipe." And in fact, Gary Jones won a 250 national championship at a Honda CR 250 with our pipe, and to this day, it's in the museum. And it's now either at Honda or at the AMA museum.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of guys running our stuff, and Marty Tripes, Marty Smith, Bob Hanna, multi-time champion, actually worked here for a while.
Oh, yeah. Really? Bob Hanna worked here?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. And we had the when we moved into the first big building over on Miraloma, it was about 20,000 square feet. We decided, because we'd had mini bike races, we decided we would have an indoor national mini bike race. And so we did. And so it's now the infamous Bassani International Indoor National Mini Bike Race. And we had, you name it, looked like a who's who of motorcycle. We had flat track guys, we had motocross guys, road racers, all on XR75s. Ken Maley, the shoe man, was the starter. We had Sherwin Vega come in and do a sound system for us.
Sherwin Vega.
We didn't have speakers, big speakers at the time. And I called him and I told him what we're doing. And I said, we'll gladly pay to rent these things. I said, do you have anything? He goes, Alice Cooper's in town for some concerts. We'll bring you his mid-range equipment. And they brought 4 900-watt mono amplifiers. When we played the national anthem, people were running out of the building. In fact, what started as a race turned into a party after the races were all over. Dan Gurney was actually there.
Yeah.
With Chuck Palmgren, and just couldn't believe how fast those guys were going on XRs. But we'd burned in the concrete and polished it and washed it, so it was like, it wasn't slick track anymore.
Yeah.
It was like Blue Groove. And some guys came to me, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and they said, hey, Darryl, the cops are outside. They want to talk to somebody that's responsible. I said, okay. And so I went out and talked to them, hey, you guys, what's happening? They go, oh, just how you guys doing? Doing great. When do you think you guys are going to call it a night? I said, I don't know, midnight, 1 o'clock? And the officer looks at his watch, he goes, well, since it's 2 o'clock now, when do you think it's really going to be over? I said, how about 4 or 5? He goes, hey, that's cool. He goes, because we know where everybody is. They're not out driving around drunk. He goes, they're right here. I said, yeah. He goes, do you have a band inside? Is that Led Zeppelin? I said, no, it's just a reel-to-reel tape deck with them playing. But that's what it sounded like.
That's awesome.
But anyway, it grew from that first small shop and building some two-stroke stuff into the four-stroke, and then moved into a bigger building, what we call the Red Brick Building, which was 6,000 square feet. In fact, we had indoor races there before we actually moved in, and thought if we ever could able to afford to move into here, we'd never have to move again. Well, that was 1971, and in 1973 we moved out.
Wow.
Into the Miraloma building.
20,000 square foot, right?
20,000.
Wow.
So
what's this place?
About 50,000.
Golly, it's crazy. It's like a down Walmart distribution center here.
It's awesome. It's awesome walking through it.
Thank you.
A lot of history. Just even the old cars in the back of those some of yours and,
Yes.
and other.
Yes.
Yeah, it's badass.
And we're actually storing some for a friend of ours right now.
Yeah.
But I was going to say something. Just that. You did the tour and saw that. Yes, we actually do everything here.
Yeah.
We don't do any heavy stamping. We don't do any powder coating or painting because of our friends at the EPA and
Yeah, it's California.
it is. It's California, and So we're careful about that. But all the welding, bending, everything, we do that here.
So, I mean, kind of jumping forward though, like how has it been with all the California restrictions on the exhaust systems with you guys? I mean, you know, that's got to, did that, for lack of a better term, did that scare the company at all with California's crackdown on the exhaust system thing?
We still have a few part numbers that are legal for sale in California, but it cut back considerably, hurt the drag reps, because exhaust and performance parts, not just exhaust, but performance parts in general, are about a third of what they sell. And I mean, CARB wouldn't even let them sell rebuild kits unless they were okayed. You know, and that's some of that stuff is just insanity.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had to do a bunch of testing at a smog station to have our stuff checked. And it was, we obviously, all these bikes are pre-cat. Or if they're catalyst, it's like the newer bikes, it's after the cat. Because if you're after the cat, you're okay. It's just pre-cat stuff that they worry about, or obviously cat removal. So all those things are not legal for sale in California.
Well, that's, yeah, I remember when all that stuff was popping up, and you know, a lot of people were kind of getting frantic. A lot of brands were getting frantic about how they were going to still, because I mean, this is such a major hub of sales, you know, for motorcycling, Harley in general. But so in the mid 2000s, when you guys were, you know, kind of still heavy with the car manufacturing stuff, with their exhaust systems, headers, things like that, you know, what was the, you know, were you still more private label branding for people? What was some of the first pipes that had the Bassani name on it? Like what kind of stuff?
Slip-on mufflers for baggers.
Slip-on mufflers. Okay.
Yeah, 1999.
Nice.
In fact, we were the first guys to do 4-inch cans. Back then, the Harley stock can was a 3.5-inch. Most people did 2 1/4, 2.5, and 3-inch muffler slip-ons. We did 4s, and they took, pardon me, they took off. And the next thing we did after slip-ons, we did a 2-into-1 for a bagger, and in fact, our distributor at the time was the one who named the thing Road Rage.
Oh, okay. Is that when the Road Rage first came out?
Yes.
Okay.
Was our first 2-into-1. He says, this makes the bike an animal. He goes, it's just angry.
Yeah.
And so, how about Road Rage? I said, that sounds like a good deal to me.
Yeah.
So, and that has caught on. And so now people actually call and go, oh, I want the Road Rage 2, or I want the Road Rage 3.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's 2-into-1s, and then we did our Pro Streets, because guys, for the not so much the big wheel, this is pre-big wheeled stuff, but guys that were just had that sort of drag kind of short pipe look, we did 2-into-2 Pro Streets. We still put baffles in them and stuff, but they were stepped and ran good. They were, it was, for what it was still a performance exhaust. They still made good power.
Yeah.
That's something that we've always pushed, is performance.
Yeah.
Looks and sound are obviously important also, but you can have a good looking pipe that sounds great and runs for poop and not such a good deal.
Yeah.
With us, we, as far as we're concerned, you got to have all three.
Yeah, the trifecta.
Trifecta, exactly. And we, you know, coming from where I came from, with like the superbike pipes on the Japanese bikes, you couldn't have a foot difference in length in the head pipes. You just couldn't. The bike just wouldn't run right. Didn't make any power. So equal length became paramount to us back then. And having all 4 head pipes as close to the same length as you could get them.
Yeah.
And what we learned back then was they need to be within the same, ideally within the same inch. Because plus or minus a half inch, even up to an inch, doesn't put you out of the ballpark. Let's say the right length is 34 inches. Well, you can be 33 or 35, or have one that's 33 and one 35, and still not be like out of the ballpark. But you can't have one that's 34 and one that's 20.
Yeah.
You just don't want that. Other people out there especially in the Harley business, don't think that you need to make the rear cylinder head pipe as long as the front one.
Yeah.
They tell you, well, a Harley's a different engine. Really? Gee, I didn't know. I thought both cylinders were connected to the same crankshaft.
Yeah, yeah.
Which means you want the timing on both of them kind of the same. So you don't want one to have a 10,000 RPM exhaust and the other cylinder a 5,000 RPM exhaust, because our length is RPM dependent, or RPM is length dependent.
Okay.
Higher RPM, you make your exhaust shorter because things happen faster.
Okay, that makes sense.
And because a Harley's more like a 5,000 kind of RPM engine, you kind of want to have, if you can, an exhaust system that works well at idle to 5,000. And so that's something we've always pushed. And then the other thing we do is step the head pipes. And what that means is you start out at 1 diameter and gradually increase it. So like with our 2-into-1s, we start with Harley with 1 3/4 and we step them to 1 7/8. And we try to do that about halfway down the length, because four-cycle exhaust work well at half the right length, or twice the right length, because the engine fires every other time. Well, if you can have your step at half the right length and your length at the correct length, you kind of get a little bit of both worlds there.
Okay.
And so that's what we do with our 2-into-1s. And then some of them, where we step twice, we split it into thirds.
Okay.
And to try and get as much balance as we can. But
So
again,
what does the step
equally,
what does the step actually help do inside the?
scavenging.
Okay.
You're increasing diameter, so it for lack of a better word, it sucks harder.
Okay.
You get this drop in pressure, so it pulls, helps pull the exhaust
out of
it.
cylinders.
And that's why collectors work the way they do. You have both cylinders firing into this common area, and what happens is when one fires, what it leaves behind when it's exiting is a negative pressure that helps pull the exhaust from the other cylinder out. And so the collector diameter is important. Too big is not good, because it's kind of like, I don't know how to say this politically correct. I know what it is. It's like pouring a cup of colored water in the ocean as opposed to pouring it in a toilet. You pour it in the toilet, you can change the color of the water. You pour it in the ocean, and it's gone.
Yeah.
Well, same with too big a collector. Too big a collector, it's like the ocean. The right size collector is more like the toilet, and you can get help, scavenging help. You get signal help.
It helps suck out the cylinders.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, and that's always why, like, full length pipes have always been known for making more power on, the 2-into-1. It's a full length out the back, right?
Right.
Because you get the longer head pipes, and obviously making them equal length as well. So what does muffler play into is it more of a sound deadening type situation?
It's sound deadening, a little bit of performance also, and what you just said about the longer exhaust. Ideally, you want from the collector to the end of the tailpipe to be kind of what the head pipes are, or close to it. Because now you've got the step at half the right length, you've got the end of the head pipe at the right length, and now you've got twice the right length at the end of the muffler. But everybody today wants short stuff, short mufflers. So we still have head pipes that are correct length and all that, but short mufflers.
Sacrifice the muffler a little bit, and it still gives just the performance, but also give us a look. Now that
these stupid kids want.
Stupid kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's me. I love it. I think it looks so good. The mid-length pipe is probably one of my favorites. I think that's the one they're putting on now, and I didn't know how I felt about it at first, but then the more I saw some of my friends with the mid-length pipe, I was like, damn, that thing looks really badass. You get the nice long rear cylinder header, and I'm excited. I know it's going to change the way that bike feels when I ride it today.
Oh, it will.
So
it will. We did that originally for our wheelie kids, because the long pipes, they drag them.
Yeah.
Along with the fender, which just blows me away. But anyway, we're so happy to have a relationship with those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a whole nother story. But so we thought we got to shorten this thing up. Well, we didn't want to make it super short, so we thought, well, let's end it in front of the rear axle. They'll be able to change the axles because those guys are changing tires quickly.
Yeah.
They blow through them. So we thought we'll do that and see how it works. And people went nuts because it's still got the correct length head pipes collector and all that stuff. Just a little bit shorter muffler.
Also, when it's not going past the axle, if you run longer suspension or taller suspension, that axle nut doesn't hit the exhaust can like it does on a lot of full length exhaust. Yep.
You're absolutely right. And that's another thing that people have discovered is longer shocks on, especially baggers well, Dynas too, because they lean them over now, which is, I'm sure to some people, a whole new revelation of riding that you can lean a motorcycle over.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely taking the world by storm right now. But yeah, so when the economy crashes, you link up with drag, you're starting to mass produce your own pipes as well. At this time, are you still doing other brands' pipes, or private labeling for other people as well in the motorcycle industry?
Yes. Okay. Yes, not as much as we used to. Unfortunately, a lot of guys have gone by the wayside.
Yeah, for sure.
And not only in the motorcycle business, and just in business in general.
Yeah.
We lost a lot of them, which is a sad thing. But yeah, we still do private label. We do bending. I mean, we do stuff for some kind of a security system for FBI, wherever they are. Some square tube stuff. But we do hydraulic stuff. We do boiler stuff, heavy pipe.
Yeah, I mean, you got all the machinery back there and the manpower that might as well keep that thing running every day with something going through it. You know what I mean? That way you get your money out of it and still be able to afford to live in California. California, is that how you
California. Yes.
Yeah. So, how was like the brand through the big wheel era? Like, had some of those style of bikes like found a pipe that really fit the style for them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't. I never was into the big wheeled thing because I think Harleys are motorcycles and they need to be ridden like a motorcycle. And these guys put on these big wheel things and you wind up with like 0 to 1 inch of travel in the front end and next to nothing in the rear, and they're on the ground.
Yeah.
But people still bought exhaust. But I think those guys, most of those guys wanted, we called them short and stupid.
Yeah.
Those pipes that they didn't end at the rear axle, they ended at the transmission cover. Right? And just noise making things that you put on your bike that, as far as I'm concerned, are power robbers, not power adders.
Yeah.
But they couldn't have an exhaust under the bike. That's why we did the, and it wasn't so much for the big wheel because they're kind of mostly gone, but we did our short, what we call Ripper series.
Yeah.
For these guys that want that ultra short. And on the Dynas, the single head pipe under the foot peg, which gives them theoretically more lean clearance.
Yeah.
And that look. And that pipe actually isn't a bad running pipe. We've seen some pretty good dyno numbers off of them. Not as good as our full-length systems, but much better than some of this other junk that's out there.
I could say that I ran the short TBR Two Brothers on my last one. And with the short Ripper one that I've been running for the last couple of months, it's a much noticeable difference in power. So can't talk bad on the TBR too much. It did hold up. It was a very strong pipe as far as like the build quality and whatnot over the years of riding it. But yeah, the power thing was the big robber in it. So you know what I mean? Running this pipe, it's been a game changer for even me on the bike. So it sounds good. It's got a good deep sound to it, and it sounds throaty when you hit it. You know what I mean? So I love it.
Good. I like to hear that.
Yeah.
And you're going to love this new one because this new one's got the full-length head pipes with it.
Yeah.
And the pipe that you had before, that's the other thing. Even with the Ripper pipes, we still stepped the head pipes to try and get as much power out of that system as we could.
Yeah.
Making it as much of a performance exhaust as was possible.
Yeah.
Considering the parameters that we had to work in. like I said, especially the bagger one, we wanted to end in front of the bags for these guys that have the extended bags or the bike on the ground.
Yeah. So in the earlier, I guess like 2010, 11, 12, 13, when you guys started getting involved with all the stunt guys, like what was that decision? Like what pushed you? Is it like having such a heavy racing background and then seeing the way that people are going to do these things? It was kind of like the natural evolution. People needed performance, and you had the sauce for it, basically.
Exactly. Well, and it's just what you said. I think racers are racers. Mm-hmm. I think it's something you got in your blood.
Yeah.
And I do. And so when we saw these, there wasn't any bagger racing. There was the XRs, but we weren't involved with that anymore. That and the dirt track thing was hurting back then. But these stunt guys, we became aware of this and saw these guys doing it. First, it was just wheelies.
Yeah.
It was just bitchin' wheelies and maybe hand drags. And we helped a couple of guys. And then Gary and I talked about it and said, wow, what do you think? And I said, well, let's keep on pushing this. Mm-hmm. Let's do this. Let's get involved with these guys. We've always been kind of outlaws and pirates, and I thought this is just a logical step for us.
Yeah.
And so we helped a couple guys. Then we went to Terminal Island, and went down there and took I think 4 or 5 guys and went down there for one day and shot a bunch of video, and it went ballistic. And we had guys doing wheelies over Terminal Island Bridge, waving at the truckers. The truckers were giving us the big horn and all that kind of stuff, and it was bitching. Mm-hmm. And one thing led to another, and we did some more. And I mean, we've done stuff in the Sand in a river where you're not supposed to go. We had Greg Lutzka jump over one of the water inlets on a skateboard. Mm-hmm. Actually, he went vertical on one of the sides. Guys doing wheelies and knee drags now and all this stuff that you wouldn't even think about. And we have a great relationship with Jason Pullen, who is probably sort of what I would say is the godfather of Harley stunting.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah.
And we have a wonderful relationship with Jason. And we've taken to I don't even know how many. He's been here, taken him to 2 or 3 shows, and he just kills it.
Yeah.
And he's got this gathering now of guys that he brings and girls, and it's insanity. And for us, what Gary and I figured out was, with the whole Dyna thing, people were they just ignored those bikes.
Yeah.
And at the time, you get a guy that comes off of a metric bike and wants to get into the Harley world. First step is usually a Sportster, sort of an entry-level thing for him. So he gets a Sportster, and then he goes, okay, I've been riding this for a while. I want to take a step up. Mm-hmm. Well, what's the next step up? He doesn't want a Softail, doesn't have rear shocks, right? He wants a bike with shock absorbers that he can do stuff on.
Things on it.
Right? So they bought a Dyna. And we had a Dyna pipe and didn't sell very well. Then when we got hooked up with drag, things got a little bit better. And I rethought this and thought, we're going to bring the Dyna pipe back that I used to make. We're going to make it a little bit simpler and easier to make, but still with close to equal length head pipes. Go under the cam cover, around the cam cover, and make a bitchin' pipe that ends in front of the rear axle. Mm-hmm. And we did. Our original 1D12. Well, the Dynaholics picked up on it and started pushing it, and it became like the pipe of choice.
Yeah.
And so these stunt guys were running that, and we thought, well, gosh, we need to get close with them. These are the new guys coming into this thing. That's where the future is. Mm-hmm. The future isn't with guys that are 75 or 80 years old riding baggers across the country. Yes, you want to make sure they've got good exhaust, but you want to help the new people, the younger people coming into this market, because that's the future. So we just started doing that, and I guess you could say it exploded because
sure.
we've become, because of the guys that we help, and now we have guys all over the country that run our stuff and do these incredible things, and of course now with social media and Instagram, you got these people with hundreds of thousands of followers. They're out doing these incredible stunts, and they tag us, and people go, gosh, they're running a Bassani pipe. Maybe that's something I need to think about. And something worked down here because an attorney who was helping us with some stuff said, I know who you are. Really? He goes, you guys are the shit on the street. I go, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, you are. He goes, you're the one. And it's, you know, it's kind of nice to hear that, especially coming from somebody that's not a biker or in the bike world. Because, when we started helping fast guys on bikes. And in the motocross days, we were kind of like the brand. We were the one that you wanted to have. Even on XR75s, I still get people coming up to me going, you know, when I was a little kid, I had your XR75 pipe on my bike because if you didn't have a Bassani pipe on your XR75, you just weren't hip.
Yeah.
You weren't with it. You weren't really serious
the bee's
about
knees.
it. Yep. So then when we got into the three-wheeled thing, we became the same thing again.
Yeah.
And we were in the car business, heavily involved with the NMRA, which is the National Mustang Racers Association. 1 year, they had a big deal at the end of the year. 1 year in a class they called Real Street, which is basically a 5-liter Mustang, a Fox body, with a supercharger or nitrous. You weren't allowed to run a turbo. These things, when I first got associated with them in the early 2000s, they were like in the mid to high 10s at like 120 something. When they ended the class, because it got so expensive to be competitive in it, those guys were running 940s at 140.
Damn.
These are cars that would carry the wheels all the way through first gear. And we had 7 of the top 10 guys at the finals that year in Real Street. We had Pro 5.0, we had guys in Street Outlaw, Pure Street, Factory Stock. We were like the dominant brand, I guess, because we care.
Yeah.
We try stuff, you know. We became Mustang people, and made stepped equal length headers that actually worked on the car, and then now in the Harley thing, because of our association with people like Chris Rivas, who to this day holds the title of world's fastest bagger on a bagger with a slightly modified stock fairing Batwing. I think they made it frame mounted so it's more stable. Stock bags, and still thing had floorboards. He went over 200 miles an hour at Bonneville.
Damn.
On gas, on an all-motor bike.
That's wild.
And we help Chris now. He's riding our BRL race bike and built the engine in it and all that. So we, with the stunt kids and all this, and now performance coming in, people are becoming more aware of performance in Harleys. Used to be, I think you rode a Harley, well, because they were bitching, they were dependable. You could get on a road bike on a Road King and ride across the country and not worry about it. Maybe add a little bit of oil, but that was it, and put gas in it. But now, especially with the advent of the M8, people are starting to realize that you can get power out of a Harley Davidson motorcycle.
Definitely.
Lots of power. And so the whole performance side of it is really coming into play, and you know,
it's a new take on an old thing, right? Performance has always been around. Making power has always been a thing since motors were invented, right?
Yep.
But now it's like re-honed and focused again, and brands like yourself get to tap back into the reason why you started in the first place.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And the drag reps who we support completely, and we're happy to have the relationship that we have with drag specialties. The reps tell us when they're in one of the shops, the guy said, "I'm looking for performance exhaust." Our brand is the first one that comes up because we pretty much, and I realize there's variances in the cam that you may have, or the tuner you might have, or the person that tuned the bike, or some other thing. You'll see slight variations on that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, every time we're tested against somebody else, we win. Dirt Bike Magazine, back in 1973 or 74, no, before that, 70 or 71, did a test on a Yamaha DT1, a 250 enduro bike. They tested our pipe, and we beat everybody, hands down. In fact, Rider Magazine tested a GS 1100, and that would have been probably 1983 or 4, and except for one other company, we're the only ones that went over 100 horsepower. Some guy, and the stock bike made, I think, 84.
Yeah.
Some guys made less than stock. After they jetted it and took the airbox cover off and put a K&N filter in, the bike was making close to 90 horsepower. Some guys were making less than that when they changed the exhaust. To me, that's just, there's no excuse.
Yeah.
They just don't care. They're trying to put chrome stuff in a box.
Yeah. They're just building something that may or may not look cool, and there's no real test and tune. There's no real energy behind it. So let me ask you this: what because uniquely as well is the stainless. That's something that was reintroduced back into. It wasn't around a lot. There was I think Vance and Hines kind of dabbled with the stainless system in like 2010, 11, 12, but it never really took off then, right? And then all of a sudden 14, 15, it's all people want. You know what I mean?
Funny you bring that up. When we used to go to V-Twin Expo and we had our Pro Street Harley pipes, we're having problems with the chrome.
Yeah.
We just couldn't find a chromer that could do the kind of quality and the kind of chrome that we needed. We needed stuff that would take the heat and not peel off and crack.
Yeah.
Right? We couldn't find anybody. Well, we were making back then, we're heavily involved in the automotive side of the market, and our tips were made out of a particular alloy of stainless that when it's color buffed correctly, it looks like chrome. Because that's what our tips look like. People said, "Oh, is this chrome plated?" No, it's stainless steel. Really? Yes. It'll last a lifetime. If it ever gets tarnished, you can just clean it up with chrome cleaner. Really? Yeah. So I thought, we're having so much trouble with this chrome, let's just make the pipes out of stainless. So we did, because back then, they're stepped. They didn't have heat shields on them. People back then didn't want them. They didn't know about them. I don't think nobody had done that yet. So we made them out of stainless. So we're at the show, and dealers would come up and go, "Man, that's beautiful. That's a nice looking system. What's that made out of?" I said, "I don't know. It's pretty shiny. I think it's steel. Is that chrome?" I said, "To tell you the truth, I don't know. It must be because it's really shiny.
Yeah.
It's not stainless, is it? I don't know. I can't answer that question." "No, we like chrome." "Well, it's pretty shiny, and I think it cleans up real good too." So that was okay for a year or two,
Yeah.
and then they figured out it was stainless steel. They said, "No, we got to have chrome." This is the honest to goodness truth. We interviewed chrome platers down here at the shop.
Yeah.
Just like you interview people for a job. And we had them do samples for us. And everybody can do one or two perfectly. We'd give them like 10 or 20 to see if they could really do it. We finally found a couple of platers that could do that. So, okay, everything's all happy and fine, and heat shields are coming to play, and we're doing that. And then the Dyna guys, specifically the Dynaholics, are going, "Hey, we really like your 1D1. we'd like something in stainless. I go, really? I said, we used to make Harley pipes out of stainless and guys didn't want them. No, we do.
Yeah.
And we don't want heat shields. I'm like, really? Whoa, you mean to tell me we're not going to have to bend a piece of bigger tubing and cut and throw half of it away?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Now I'm listening. And so we thought, okay, let's make our 1D1, but make it out of stainless steel and get the pipes closer together, tuck them up more because we don't have the 2 1/4-inch heat shields. We'll change the collector a little bit because we can, and see what happens.
Yeah.
Drag was worried because they'd had, let's just say, a sales challenge with a couple of other brands in stainless. And they told me, Darryl, that stuff doesn't sell very well. I said, not to beat on our competitors, but people don't want carbon fiber end caps
Yeah.
and triangular mufflers that end at the foot peg. I said, I think I know what they want. We're willing to give it a shot. Okay. So they ordered 25. And their drag is typically very conservative. Probably why they're still here. They're conservative is a word that starts with the same letter as careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they got 25. We not only got them the 20. They not only got the 25. They were gone before they got everything. They ordered 55 more. And before they got all 55, they ordered 100. So in the first 3 or 4 months or 5 months, they sold more of our new stainless Dynapipes than they'd sold in the last year of the other stuff that they had. And to this day, if it's not our #1 seller, it's in the top 3.
Yeah.
Our original Dyna. Still, to this day, even though Harley hadn't made that bike, which I think is a huge mistake, they could have made it.
Yeah.
Put a twin cam engine in it, and
Or
if
M8. M8 engine.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. The M8. Put the M8. They could have built them with twin cams, and guys would have bought them like there's no tomorrow. Because it was the next step for a guy coming into the Harley world.
Yeah.
But and I know they tried some stuff with the Softails, and the Softails seem to be catching on and doing better. But anyway, the Dyna world was huge. It still is. And what happened was we did that, and then we did the bagger, the original twin cam bagger 2-into-1, and then people went, they've I don't know, I can't think of the word. It's not, I don't think woke up. I don't use woke, but they've become aware of stainless, all the benefits.
Yeah.
Some people actually like the fact that it colors.
Yeah.
But they know that it's renewable, it's strong, it's tough, it'll last a long time.
They've come out of hibernation on.
That's
on
the word.
stainless.
Yes, they've come out of hibernation.
A lot of people are polishing them up now. That's come back too, but yeah, stainless is the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anytime you go through a rainstorm, it looks like it stained the pipe or pitted it, or not pitted, but stained it. Red Scotch Brite cleans it right back up, looks like brand new again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that aspect is good, and it's a nice color. It brings brightness to what a lot of Harley engines now are all going towards, like blacked out looks, and so you get
Right.
this nice bright golden tan pipe that goes through it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, I know exactly.
And it just stands out. I mean, on that picture right there with the Smash Stunts, you just see it just glowing in the sun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of our best girls right there,
Yeah.
Ashley. And what was I was going to tell you? Oh, just that stainless is now, whenever we come up with a new part number, stainless is part of the deal. It's black, chrome, and stainless. And stainless amounts to about half of our sales now.
Nice.
And not to beat on our own chest, but I like to think that we pretty much own that market because of not only of the quality, but the fact that we have so many offerings. A lot of people will only have like 1 or 2 part numbers that they offer in stainless, and
Yeah,
that's
nothing
it.
else. Yeah.
Well, it's everything. That's another thing. We talked about look, sound, and performance. quality is a big deal with us. The fact that the stuff, when you get it out of the box, it looks like jewelry now because that's what people are buying. But we're very careful. You saw how we pack stuff and how every piece is checked. And yes, we're all human. Humans are capable of making mistakes every once in a while. We try and eliminate that as much as we can. But I like to think that we make the best that you can buy. We make it the way we do because I only want to make stuff that I would buy myself.
Yeah.
And so no junk, not here. So we use 16 gauge steel instead of 18 gauge. 18 gauge we used to use on the superbike pipes. Those people are were weight conscious.
Yeah.
And besides that, the crotch rockets, the inline fours, don't vibrate quite as much as a Harley. I'd say close to 0 as opposed to like a 9.5.
Yeah.
And so you can do that. The Harleys do vibrate, and people ride them a lot farther and a lot more for the most part.
Yeah.
And so we use 16 gauge because it's a heavier material. It'll hold up better.
Yeah.
It's just stronger. It's just better all the way around. Our muffler cans, even our heat shields are 16 gauge. Because for us it bends better, especially in the stainless. And it's higher quality.
Yeah.
It's a little bit thicker material. You're just getting sort of like not exactly more bang for your buck, but
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, all 16 gauge. Little things that we take attention to detail, like on the O2, people call them bungs, but the O2 sensor fittings that are welded into the head pipes.
Yeah.
On our stainless stuff, we used to TIG weld the things. We still do. TIG is heliarc, tungsten inert gas. We still do, but now instead of using stainless rod, we use a nickel bronze rod. It melts at a slightly lower temperature, but we don't have to put as much heat into the head pipe. And we've pretty much completely eliminated cracking.
Nice.
Which we were having a little problem with, very little problem, but I want no problems.
Yeah.
I want people to buy this stuff, put it on their bikes. That's one thing that I am particularly proud of. We have dealers call us and tell us, we really like your stuff because our techs can put it on the bike without any struggle. One of the other things that we did, we changed basically in about 2009, Harley changed their gasket, and they changed what we call the spigot, the part of the head pipe that goes up into the cylinder head.
Yeah.
They changed it, so did we. And we made tooling to form the inlet of our head pipe pretty much exactly like a Harley, so that you do not have to change gaskets. This simply fits back in. So if a tech is replacing a full exhaust on a bike, all he has to do is take off the old pipe and put on our new pipe. He doesn't have to spend an extra 15, 20 minutes trying to get the old gaskets out, because that's hard, and then put new ones in. And the new ones that most people require are those flat gaskets. With ours, the stock gaskets are fine.
Yeah.
And we did that again, thinking about the guy who has to install this stuff and try and make a living.
Yeah.
You make his job easier. He likes your parts more.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a quick question for you, Darryl.
Sure.
After being here today, it's evident from the first time we saw you when you rolled up on your e-bike, your fun in your personality. I think it's extended to your company with talking about the XR races and just the parties you guys have had, the stuff Gary's told us about. So when you guys got into the stunt, the Dyna and the stunt guys a handful of years ago, in addition to seeing, the business side, the writing on the wall, this is where it's going, this is who's buying our stuff, how much of it for you, being a fun guy, looked at it and these guys are fun. This is almost like a reinvigorating or re-energizing kind of a feeling. And has it been fun working with them? The guys like Steve and Ashley and just, y'all's whole crew.
It has been. It's everything. I'm getting misty right now. When we go to these things and I see those guys doing what they do, wearing our gear, it's like it makes all the crap that I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis worth it. This is, like you said, this is fun. This is the part of life that you live for.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the, oh shoot, this guy's bracket broke, or you know, this or that, or this guy got sick today, or the tubing that we just got in splits and we got to get a new batch of that, or whatever. No, it's going to those events and seeing guys, especially when we got hooked up with Jason Pullen.
Yeah.
You know, Jason, we first met him at an FXRs of California show.
Yeah.
He invited us to his into his, what was then his motorhome, which was, I think, a converted bus, and like, wow, pretty neat. Does some amazing stuff, and then saw him again, and then so by now he and I knew who one another were. And you know, the stunt guys, when they're going to go get together and stunt, they don't say, hey, let's go to the Macy's parking lot on Lakewood Boulevard. They go, hey, let's go to a spot, the B spot or the C spot. And everybody knows where that is. And that way, anybody listening in that isn't one of them won't know where they're going.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So he was down at this spot they went to that they could go to back then, which was a dead-end street ending in a cul-de-sac that had a couple, like a dogleg bend. So driving by, you couldn't look down the street and see anything. And so that's where they used to go. So Jason was down there, and I saw him, and I said, hey, how you doing? And I said, boy, that pipe looks a little rough, Jason. He goes, yeah. He goes, it's got a lot of time on it. I said, you know, I know there's people that make stuff that probably would actually maybe even work better, but for sure look better and wouldn't have cracks and breaks and stuff. He goes, yeah, but that stuff's kind of expensive. I go, you know, it's kind of funny you say that. I know somebody that makes that kind of stuff. And if I put in a good word, I might be able to help you out. No, I can't afford that stuff. I said, no, don't worry about it. Let me see what I can do. I'll talk to them and see what they say. So we got his shipping address. I don't know if Gary did it. I don't know how he did it, but he got his shipping address, and we sent him some stuff, a couple of sets of systems. We didn't know exactly what he needed. And he calls down and he goes, "What? Hey, you guys, what is this?" I don't know. What's what? He goes, "I got boxes from you." Really? He goes, "Yeah." He says, "I can't afford that stuff." I said, "Did it come with an invoice?" "Well, not yet." I said, "Well, it's not going to." He goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, really." So he put one of them on, and that's probably been 2 or 3 years ago, and he's like the man.
Guy, yeah.
You know, and he thanks us all the time. He goes, "Gosh, I wish I would have hooked up with you 10 years ago." I go, "I know, me too, but 10 years ago we weren't where we are now." And but hey, we're here together now, and it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah.
And so it's just been bitching. And he's got that girl. She's an Ashley also. This one's Smash Stunts. The other is Smashley.
Okay.
Smashley's the girl that has the Honda dirt bike that does somersaults on.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right? And then Jason's got his wife who sits on the, oh, it's not in here, sits on the handlebars. It's in Gary's office.
Yeah.
Sits on the handlebars of his motorcycle, and they do this. He does fender dragging.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Jason, you know? And now he's got his little girl.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he did this. He just did it at, where were they?
The bagger racing.
Yeah, in Salt
Utah.
Lake, Utah. He's doing a burnout. The bike is stopped, standing there, and Harley's standing on the seat going, yay, like that. It's like, Jason, she's really little.
Yeah, that's got to be scary for sure.
But he does some amazing.
Your bike's going to be ready probably in a couple minutes.
That's fine.
And I have another opportunity if you want to do another podcast for you.
Okay.
I have some people here that you might want to do it with.
All right.
Do you know Josh with HD Hooligans in Australia?
I do not.
Okay. Well, he's an influencer down there, and if you want to do
Yeah,
with him,
we'll meet.
pretty cool.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. No, that's cool. So, now with the Bagger Racing League, like you said, you guys are y'all have a team, someone riding, you said it earlier.
Yes.
How does it feel just seeing that happen? I mean, have you been to the races? I assume you've seen the track and just
Yes.
the enthusiasm out there. Everybody's having fun and just, like I said, I mean, I guess it's got to come full circle for you starting out on a track, putting the Bassani name out there, and then coming full circle, especially with the Bagger Racing League actually being on a track now. And, taking these machines that are not designed to do this, they're not designed to do that. They're not supposed to be on one wheel, and they're not supposed to be dragging, pegs and stuff around the corner, right? But that's what we do as humans. That's what we do as Americans, right? We make that shit, we make it fast and loud and, all that other stupid shit.
When you were renting that track out for $50 or $75 a day, which I tried looking earlier, as soon as you said that, I can't even find where to rent it out if you could, but
Oh, it's gone.
Oh,
there
There's
you go.
condos. Because this is California.
Yeah. Could you ever imagine then where you were going out and making, like you said, just making stuff for yourself, and then it turned into helping people to where it's at now, which I bet that's just a mind-blowing experience, being at a Bagger Racing League track and
It is.
just going, wow.
Again, not to beat on my competitors, but, I did this because I couldn't buy something that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
So I built it. And then I found out that other people would like stuff also.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were involved with the Vetter bike that Pridmore was racing, getting ready for that 79 season, we went to Orange County Raceway, which was a drag strip, and for the day, and had that bike down there, and had a competitor's pipe that the guy, what would he be? Kind of like the crew chief, the guy that handled the bike, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was there, and he had worked with these other people, and so we had one of their pipes. So we had our Superbike pipe on there, and the bike went 134, and I cannot remember the change, but I think it was 134.42, and it did 134 3 passes in a row. And we weren't doing clutch starts because all that does, I didn't care about ET. ET is just your setup and your ability to launch. Miles an hour is horsepower. So we would do rollers through the lights and then trip the lights and off to the races, right?
Yeah.
134. Put the other pipe on, and it went 128. You guys know what 6 miles an hour is like in the quarter? It's like a friggin' lifetime, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know how many horsepower it is, but it's a lot. Because that bike made 150 horsepower at the rear wheel. And I'm guessing it probably made more like 135, 40 tops with that other exhaust. The guy was so sure that there was something wrong with the jetting that he started leaning the thing out. He was sure it was fat. He leaned it out to the point where it stuck. Blamed us. Go, really? We went 134, you went 128, leaned it out and just went slower. Don't talk to me about that crap. Anyway, so yes, we have come full circle. And now with the Bagger Racing League, I was there at the first Salt Lake. I couldn't go to this last one because I had that whatever that thing is that goes around that people get sick from. Oh, I know, it's the bullshit virus. That's what it is.
The flu?
Yeah, it's the DC flu, right? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, I didn't get to go. I went to the first one. I went to Willow with Track Days, and I went to I've been to some other events. Went to Sonoma, and this thing in Milwaukee. Sad part is Salt Lake is probably the nicest racetrack facility maybe in the country, especially where they don't race NASCAR. NASCAR's got so much money that these tracks can do whatever NASCAR says, but considering that place is in the middle of nowhere, it is bitchin'. The sad part is it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And Salt Lake isn't a big Harley-based community, and even if it was, the track's a ways away, anyway. Milwaukee ought to be great. But yes, we are one of the original. There was either 8 or 10 of us at the first meeting when the whole bagger racing thing came to be. And some people, because we were going to go to Laguna Seca, the people from Moto America were there. Well, even though Rob Bidos, who's with Drag, brainchilded this whole thing, this whole bagger thing was his idea, bagger road racing, because he thought, everybody drag races, why don't we road race baggers? What a unique concept. He goes, and drag could sell parts to the dealers, to customers that want to make performance bikes. Okay, it sounds good to me. Are you guys in? Yeah, we're all in. And so we went to Laguna. Okay, before we got to Laguna, unbeknownst to us, Moto America stole and trademarked the name King of the Baggers.
Yeah.
So then they said, okay, next year, you guys, we're going to double your entry fee, and we want you to go to 5 racetracks, 4 of which, of course, are east of the Mississippi River. Perfect. None of us are capable, financially or people-wise, of putting a truck with a bike out on the road to back east and then bring it back again a week later.
Yeah.
We can't do it. So that's when we broke away from them and started the Bagger Racing League and have more classes, and it's just kind of a all Harley kind of deal. And I think that Milwaukee is going to be a huge turning point because it's I believe it's called Harley Homecoming.
Hometown Rally.
Hometown Rally.
Yeah.
Yes. Have you ever? Well, I think we were there a year or two ago, and it's a pretty big deal.
Oh yeah, it's basically their anniversary, Harley's anniversary every year, and they just turned it into a rally in Milwaukee. And like I said, we work with House of Harley, and their dealership there has a really great facility, lots of stuff to do on site. So the whole town's it's going to feel like Sturgis there. It's just everything's going to be motorcycles. So really looking forward to it myself.
Me too, because like I said, I think it'll be an eye opener and get some people out to see.
Yeah, I mean, think about all the things people can do that's never been to Milwaukee. It's a rally. There's tons of cool bars. That whole town is built on the bar, right? You got the museum, which is amazing. You got the racing that's going to be taking place, and it's going to be at a time of year where you head towards Madison. There's some of the nicest roads in the Midwest out there, in the Wisconsin Dells and things like that. So there's plenty to do if you want to ride there or just be there, fly in, hang out. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to it.
So am I. And you were talking about this whole bagger thing. The bagger, it started out with the original companies, Barnett, Saddleman, Fueling, Speed Merchant,
Alloy Art, Sly Fox.
Yeah, I was trying to think Alex's company. Us. That might have been it. The whole idea of the thing was, hey, here's a bunch of companies that are performance minded, that are exclusive to drag. Drag's behind this. Fred Fox was at that very first meeting, and he's like, yeah. And we can use one another's parts. We can share stuff. We can go to the races and have some fun and sell parts. We'll let people know. They can see our bikes and go, hey, that looks like my bike. It's just got a different cam and an exhaust and a tuner, and yeah. Okay. Sounds good in concept. What it's turned into is Formula One racing. It's like these bikes have become GP bikes. They're, if you can imagine, and I still have a tough time with it. an 850-pound bagger that's ready to start a BRL race at 600 pounds.
Yeah.
With all parts that you can buy off the shelf, no titanium. It's like, how'd you get 250 pounds off that motorcycle? Oh, I know. The guy left his girlfriend at home. No.
She ain't a lady if she ain't 280.
Yeah. Exactly. And but we did it. And they've got brakes. Now, of course, you either pretty much have to have Brembo brakes, at least Brembo calipers. You got to have 17-inch wheels so you can get tires.
Good tires, yeah.
You got to have suspension, alloy, like an alloy art swinging arm, either inverted forks or alloy art lower legs with some custom cycle engineering tubes, which are of course 2 inches over Dyna's length, which is I think already an inch or two over bagger length. And you know, Chris, I forget how tall Chris is. He's not my height. He's probably 5'8" or 9". He can barely touch the ground on his tiptoes on this bike because they've gotten so high.
Yeah.
Because you have to, otherwise you can't lean them over. And what are we running, like a 180 or 190, I think, rear tire? Does that sound right?
Yeah, yeah.
By 17. And he's out at the edges of the tire. We're leaning over so far. And, oh man, it's been such a huge learning experience about rake and trail and weight bias and weight distribution and steering head angle and you know, offsetting the forks, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, and spring rates and shock and shock rates, and you have to have, if you don't have rear shocks that are individually rebound and compression damping savvy,
Yeah.
you might as well stay home.
Yeah.
You know,
Pack it up.
It's gotten nuts. And also, if you don't have a bagger that makes somewhere north of 150, probably realistically 160 horsepower at the wheel,
Yeah.
again, you probably ought to stay home because you're going to get lapped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our bike that Chris built, that engine is what they call, it's a 4 3/8 square 131, and it makes it made 175. Now we changed something on it. Oh, fuel, because some of the tracks that we're going to run at now require different fuel. Plus, he did some other simple little thing to it. The oil pump, oil, because it's got better scavenging, and so the thing picked up I think 2 or 3 horsepower. So we're somewhere between 177 and 178 at the wheel.
Damn.
On gas.
That's crazy.
It is.
On a 600-pound bagger.
So, yeah. And this is a bagger you could deliver papers on. You know, it's not top fuel madness.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have what you would call a big cam in it. It's got what Chris calls it's a drop-in cam for an M8. I forget which one.
Like
he's
475 or some shit like
something
that. Yeah. That's wild. That's cool as hell. You know, we have a close friend that's been riding in it as well, Steve Chamberlain. You know, he's one of the guys that travels the country with us, parties, goes to campouts, but always one of the fastest dudes out of all of us. And he stepped it up, and this last bagger racing league up there, I think he got 3rd place in the not the GP bagger, but the
Pro Stock
bagger. And then I think he got 6th in the GP when they let those guys race with him.
Right.
And every time he goes back there, he makes adjustments. He takes in what he learned, and he shaves his time off that thing. He gets faster. You know what I mean? And that's so fun to watch. You know what I mean?
Chris finished right behind him in Pro Stock.
Oh, for real?
Chris
Nice.
finished 4th at Salt Lake, and finished 7th right behind Steve again in GP. And his lap times in GP were 2 seconds a lap quicker than they were in Pro Stock, simply because it's seat time.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're out there with faster guys, and maybe you get to see something that you hadn't
some
seen
better
before.
lines.
Better lines.
Yeah. It's amazing, man. Like, there's part of me that's like, man, I wish I would have maybe taken the chance and go out there and try it and learn it. But there's also the part of me that's like, I'm almost 40. I rely way too much on my hands to make a living, and I need to try to not put my bike on the ground, even if it is in a safe environment. So, and also I don't need any more addictions. and racing is one of those.
It is, and you made the right decision. Chris has been down twice. First time was our first trip to Salt Lake. He actually broke a bone in his foot and beat the bike up so bad that we just put it in his truck and he went home. Then at Sonoma, he slid out going into the last turn. He didn't get hurt, and he went ahead and rode the race, the actual race. But every time we've gone out, there have been major changes to that motorcycle, and every time it's gotten better. And we're finally to the point where the bike isn't scary to ride. You know, Chris says, hey, I'm the guy that needs to learn how to ride the bike now. He goes, because the bike gives me confidence. But because before, it's like any Harley. You take a Harley, a bagger out there that doesn't have all the stuff that this got on it, and you start trying to push that thing hard, if you don't get scared, it's probably because you don't know what fear is.
Yeah.
You know?
I can't imagine, man. It's exhilarating to watch, and you know, it being so grassroots right now, and seeing people that we've hung out with at Born Freeze or you know, Sturgis or something like that, see these guys on the track. It's just like, it really feels like it is like you're rooting for the high school football team or something like that.
Oh,
or
yeah.
The local college team.
Well, that's another thing. This whole BRL, the whole concept was to have grassroots kind of racing. That's why what I liked about the NMRA was most of the races were back east, so you got a bunch of country boys out there. In fact, it's probably their fault that I have a shine problem.
One of my favorite things about not only Steve being a good friend of ours, but watching him do it privateer style. You know, he bought an older van, retrofitted it to get the bike in, and he travels the country. He doesn't have a team behind him. He
picks up one of the homies in that town, and you know, and they bring some. You know, he just goes out there and he turns it into like serious mode.
Until,
you know?
it's a work trip for him at that point. When you see him on those, he's not, you know, I'm sure he has a little fun, but it's about business, and it's serious when he's there. And I love watching him, just especially like I said, the privateer style.
Like you said too, we've all said this since the beginning of all the racing stuff, is that we're just excited about the type of parts that we're going to get to play with in the coming years, the type of things that are going to be figured out by all these brands, all these manufacturers. And we're also excited that, you know, it's going to push Harley to give us a better platform to start with.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just all exciting. I mean, you know, people ask me a lot of times, like, hey, how long do you think the scene, the performance scene is going to last? And I always kind of tell them, like, I think this is the first time that the scene is actually in line with everything that makes the bike better, right? You know, Big Wheels, it was a visually stunning thing, but it took away all the riding ability or the fun out of it. Choppers have always been more of an artistry type thing than so much of a experience of riding motorcycles, if that makes sense. And so now it's like everybody's buying parts. It makes the bikes handle better. It makes them go faster. It makes them stop better. You know, it's just fun. It's a complete experience on motorcycles, and I don't see it going away. It might morph into something, but it ain't going anywhere. What's up, guys? I need to drop in real quick and give a big thank you and shout out to thundermax EFI for helping me make this podcast trip possible. I just got home from a 28-day, 7,200-mile bike trip where I at least filled up my gas tank once a day. My 131 was humming through the desert, mountains, forests, and even plenty of rain. The thundermax ECM kept my bike running and operating like a champ. With its auto-tuning technology, the elevation, humidity, and temperature changes never affected my bike's performance. Their ECMs are a must for anyone looking to add all the go fast goodies to your EFI-equipped Harley Davidson. My Road Glide is paired with the thundermax cooling fan, which is available for the touring M8 models. Lane splitting in California's traffic and heat gets the motor oil hot, but with the fan I was able to keep my bike's temps in the safe zone. Check out all these amazing products at shoptmax.com, and when you're ready to make the upgrade, use FASTLIFE at checkout to save yourself 10%. Now let's get back to the show. You know
I
what
don't
mean?
think it's going away either, because look at what's happened to the car industry. You know, it started back probably in the mid to later 80s with the 5-liter Mustang. When they put that engine in there, and especially when it became fuel injected, and I know they were only 225 horsepower, but that's so much more than 150. And the car was lighter. I mean, they sort of brought performance. And then every year, maybe not every year, but Ford kept improving the platform with that thing. And then, of course, then Chevy came out again with the new Camaro.
Yeah.
What is it, Gen 4, I think, I can't remember, but the new Camaro. Now, Chrysler had the Charger and then brought back the Challenger, which looks kind of like the original Challenger. Now I guess Chevrolet's going to bring back the Chevelle again to look like a 69, 70-ish kind of Chevelle.
Yeah.
And then look at what the manufacturers have done. You know, the EPA and all the feds are like, yeah, you need to think about CAFE and fuel economy, blah, 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 blah. All that crap. These guys go, oh, okay. So we're not going to tune that engine to 800 horsepower. We're going to keep it back at around 770. Okay. And so you've got the Hellcats and the GT500s and GT350 Shelbys.
Yeah.
And the new 5-liter Mustangs make, what, 425 horsepower or something?
insane.
Advertised. And the new Corvettes and the Zeo, whatever the thing's got, like 600 something. And there's a Cadillac that you can get that's ridiculously powerful. And, you know, I think, yes, you can still buy your all-electric whatever, or your fuel mileage, 2-cylinder, compact, subcompact, whatever, or you can buy a Hellcat.
Yeah.
And look at Chrysler's answer to the Raptor is, I forget what they call it, but
The T-Rex, I think.
yes, T-Rex.
Yeah.
A pickup truck that's got, what, like 600 or 700 horsepower? And what, 8 or 10 inches of travel in the suspension? Like, okay, that's telling somebody what they think about.
Yeah, and the people are buying them.
And
You
they're
see them
buying
everywhere, you know.
Those Shelby trucks are insane. I mean,
Yeah.
Shelby makes a truck that's stupid.
Yeah.
I have a Jeep, but I want one of the Trackhawks, which is basically the Hemi with the blower on it. But I just don't have a garage, because my garage is full of bike stuff. I just don't have a garage to put. If I'm going to spend, not that I have it, but if I was able to spend $90,000 on a vehicle, I just can't leave it out in the driveway. We get too much hell in Texas. You know what I mean?
And what you're talking about, is that the Grand Cherokee with a killer motor in it?
Yeah.
Oh, those are bad.
So badass looking. So.
And so that's why I think that this, what you said about this whole performance thing, it's not just horsepower, it's the bike.
Yeah.
It's everything about the bike. Yes, it's performance horsepower, but it's also performance handling. It's performance stopping, because obviously if you take a bike that comes from the factory with 75 or 80 horsepower and you make it 150, ideally you'd want to probably have some brakes on the thing.
Yeah.
And of course the tire manufacturers are all over this with their tires that are better now, and the brake people. And then you come down to one of those M8s. You can take an M8 and put an exhaust, a tune, and a cam in it, and an air cleaner, and have easily over 100 horsepower.
Easily. Yeah.
You know?
And you know, it's funny because like the 114, which I don't even think they're doing the 107 anymore. I think it's all 114, 117s now. So 114, it comes out with like 86 horsepower. The 117 comes out with like 94, something like that, 93. Right. But as soon as you put a cam in there, as soon as you put that cam in there, it's like the 114s are running around 110, 112. If you get a good cam and a good combination with exhaust, you can get closer to 120 out of that thing.
Right.
And then the 117s they're better. That new Lowrider ST that we were talking to my buddy earlier. He's on his way back out here. I rode that thing with a pipe, a Harley tuner, which is not really tuning much, a Harley tuner and an air cleaner, and that thing rips. It's fast as hell. 117 on that little ass bike, dude. That's all you need. I mean, I have the 131 in my bagger, but I feel like if I was to buy that 117 and just do exactly, he hadn't even put a cam in there yet. A cam, and that's all that thing needs.
I know. I know, and I'm sure Harley's cam that's in there, they did that for emissions. They want to meet emissions.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm guessing, is your 131 engine, is that theoretically emissions, or is it?
I don't think so. I think it's
It's Texas.
Let us get back out of here first.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I meant Arkansas.
yeah, fuck those guys.
Anyway, no, you're right. It's easy to get performance out of these engines, and what I started to say about the cam is those cams. I mean, you talk about specs, duration, and lift, and all that. I wasn't talking about a Briggs & Stratton lawnmower. I was talking about a Harley Davidson motorcycle.
Yeah.
You must be confused. Oh no.
Yeah.
They have Briggs & Stratton cams in them. Okay.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, cam just wakes those things up tremendously.
Yeah. I'm excited to see, there's a lot of rumors talking that, we're going to get the new touring or another touring model with the new motor in it, which is they're putting in the Sportster S and the Pan America. And I mean, I'm excited. I don't know if I want to be the first year adopter of it, but I don't know. I mean, it's all rumors right now, but I know it's coming, and I think it's going to be cool. It's going to actually, I think the traditional Harleyists, the people that are just the average guys that just jump on their bikes and travel and go to do their poker runs and their hog chapter stuff. Not as a dig. I'm just saying those guys, they're probably going to be more butthurt about, Harley leaning into the water-cooled situation. And I don't know where I stand on it. I think I'm kind of in the, I'm almost 40 years old, so I got a lot of my heritage is wrapped up in an air-cooled V-twin. But I also grew up on sport bikes where I understand the fun of water-cool and higher revving motors.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm kind of a little bit more malleable to be either one if depending on what ultimately the quality of the bike is when it comes out. So
right. I hope, just because of the traditional thing about Harley, is they don't stop making the air-cooled engine, that they keep, because Indian, they've got the Challenger, and yes, it's got the quote-unquote newer engine, all water-cooled and all bitchin' and all that stuff. But they still got the Chief and the Chieftain and the ones that have got their air-cooled V-twin, and I think that's neat, because to me, those are still fairly simple motorcycles. Yes, I understand they're fuel injected, but they're fairly simple.
Yeah.
To me, when you get into water cooling and overhead cam, and especially multiple overhead cam and 4 valves per cylinder and all the other madness that goes with it, and 7 or 8 or 9,000 RPM. It's like a different ball game.
Yeah.
The
main thing is I want to make sure is, this is like such a woo-woo kind of thing, or, crystals and shit, but there is like a feeling when you ride a Harley. There is like this, like tapping into like a heritage, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hope that, or I wonder if when the bikes are water-cooled and there's more plastic on it, is it going to still feel like
a Harley.
I
know.
You know what I mean?
I know. I don't think so. I hope they don't go that way. I know that I have a friend that I call my brother. He's got a Harley, and he rode an Indian. He rode a Challenger, and he goes, I really like it. The power, the way it handles and feels and everything, because it's like a metric bike. He goes, I like the feel of a Harley. It just feels different. And, and we were talking about racing, and it's interesting that Harley, in the Moto America thing, Harley has a team out there now at those races to compete against Indian, because Indian won. We could have won that first Laguna Seca race. We had the bike. We didn't own it.
Yeah.
We're just part of it. Chris Rivas got so disgusted, he said, I don't ever want to see it again. That bike made 175 horsepower at the rear wheel. By the time it got to when we were at the Button Willow and we're testing, we were 15 seconds a lap quicker than the Barnett bike, right? Get to Laguna, never made one lap.
Damn.
The chain came off, went through a whole top end. I mean, it's just a horror story. But anyway, Indian won. At the very next race, Harley showed up, because I know that Harley sees this thing as, we better be out there, otherwise Indian's going to take over our place in the market. And I like it, if only in the sense that it's that Indian Harley competition from back before, like before the third number was something besides a 0.
Yeah.
You know, and in date I meant.
Yeah.
And they were serious competitors. And then Indian fell on hard times, and now that Polaris has them, and they didn't take and basically a Harley engine and call it something else and put it in somebody's frame. They made a whole Indian motorcycle, and with a new engine and everything. And I think they're making some inroads, and they're serious about that road racing thing too.
Yeah.
And you know, the sad part from our perspective, us meaning the guys that sort of were at the forefront with the BRL thing, is that we can't afford to compete with them anymore. Because you got the Harley factory, you got the Indian factory, you've got Roland Sands, who's the Indian factory, and you got Vance and Hines, who's basically the Harley factory. So you've got 8
S&S
or 9
with Indian.
Yeah, 8 or 9 bikes out there, and only 3 of them are going to be on the podium.
Yeah.
So what do you think your chances are, Mr. Privateer?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that is the part of it that I mean, I guess it's fun to watch that, to see those bigger, you know, those $200,000-$300,000 baggers that they're building and whatnot go out there. But to me, you know, like even whenever, you know, the DTF bike won in that one year, I think it was a Wisconsin track they were racing when DTF, the Horsepower Inc. won.
Yeah.
We all watched at the shop together.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, it's just cool to see, and you know, like all the I don't know, man. It's just a good time to be alive and be a part of this motorcycle industry right now with all these changes happening, and being able to watch it through social media is a cool thing. I know that that's a double-edged sword with social media and things like that, but you know, just the connection of brands and people across the country. It's like this country never felt like so much. It feels so much like a small city where we ride everywhere and click with everybody and connect with other brands and go to bike nights across the country. Seriously, you know, in some aspects. So I don't know. I love it all.
Yeah, the racing thing, it's something that we've talked about on this numerous times with the generation and, you know, the torch kind of being passed to us or whatever, the next generation. The racing league just emphasizes that. I feel we're going in the right direction. It's in strong hands. No matter who's holding it right now, we're doing okay. You know, motorcycling is up. People are into bikes, and as far as the people that are already in this, man, I think we're good. I love it.
Well, you know, it's interesting what you just said about bringing things in and people into the racing. Moto America jumped all over this thing, because when we went to Laguna Seca, which was the very first time we raced the baggers, and they were sort of, none of us had this figured out yet. It was still in its infancy. And of course, all the crotch rocket guys are out there going, what's the deal with the oil leakers?
Yeah.
Right? And after the very first practice session, when the Harleys would go out for practice again, the crotch rocket guys were up against the fence, like, oh, look at that guy. Because they'd never seen, like a Harley bagger, he's sliding the thing around the corner, like,
Yeah.
look at those lap times. And you know, you were talking about that one where the guy won that race. That was Michael Barnes. That's who was going to ride the bike we were involved with at Laguna. Michael's just a really good rider and a lot of time on Harleys. I'm glad to see he was able to win a race, because he deserved it.
Yeah.
Because the first couple of times out, besides Laguna, they had nothing but problems with that thing. But yeah, okay. So what I started to say was the whatever you want to call it, it's not readership. When it's video, I guess it'd be viewership,
Yeah,
right? So the views that they got from the bagger part of their thing were like, off that one race, were more than they'd ever gotten for a whole year off their whole program.
Yeah.
And they went, wow, this Harley thing must really be something. Yeah, no fooling. Harley guys are enthusiasts that when there's a Harley deal, you can bet that there'll be a bunch of them going to it.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
that was in COVID too, when you're not allowed to do shit, especially here.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
we weren't allowed to have spectators. You couldn't even, they had to have all the right wristbands and armbands and all this crap just to get into the track. And then we had to wear masks when we were outside of our pit area. For crying out loud, you're in the open air,
Yeah.
and you got to have a mask on. Okay.
Sir, put it over your nose.
Yeah.
Well, just another credit to the whole Indian Harley thing, and then you said the sport bike guys running up and watching. Harleys are fucking cool, and watching those guys get those baggers out on the track, it looks fucking cool and it looks fun. And the sport, obviously no discredit, those guys are amazing riders, but we've all seen the GP bikes a million times. You know how fast they are, but there's something that's still new. And what am I looking at? Almost like the first time you're seeing guys on Harleys do wheelies, it's the same kind of effect with the Bagger Racing League. Like,
Oh, yeah.
this looks badass. And we've talked about it, how I know it's not a trend, it's not a new thing. People have been going to the track for years, but it does seem like in our group, and this, it's driven by the performance thing, but there has been a little resurgence. I don't know if you want to call it in the Instagram world, where guys are deciding that their little niche in this is going to be track days. And we travel, and there's guys that stunt. Well, there's a whole segment of people now that go, fuck, I want to race. I want to get race fast. Even if I've never actually raced, I want to go out and practice racing to the
Right.
point where I can translate that other places and just overall riding. And I love it. I love it. It's great for like you said, the sport of motorcycling.
Yeah.
Well, and
100%.
I think one of the coolest parts about this whole Harley thing is, unlike dirt track, where you're racing a racing motorcycle, a bike that was built specifically to race. The bikes that they're racing on the track weren't built specifically to race. They were built specifically to go touring.
Yeah.
And they still got their saddlebags. It's like, wait a second. Did he forget to take those off when he left home?
Yeah.
No, they're a requirement. And I think that's one of the things that blows people away. Here's a bike that, yeah, they look different, and they got a lot of carbon fiber on them and all that other stuff. Of course, you got a carbon fiber fender and dash and stuff. But they look at these things and go, that still looks like kind of like my bike. It's still got a fairing and still got rear shocks, and it's still got saddlebags on it and a kind of sort of normal looking seat, and
Yeah.
yet he's going 150 miles an hour. What's
In
the
turns.
In turns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
I know.
So, how do you feel about like the future of Bassani with being involved in all this stuff? I mean, do you feel like you've created the company and it's in good hands to be able to continue to run on for generations to come?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think that we're very fortunate with the relationship we have with Drag. We're still behind with everything, trying to make enough stuff. We haven't even scratched the the side-by-side market.
Yeah.
We attempted it, but unfortunately, I listened to people that said, "Oh, we want performance and sound. We don't want these really loud things." So I made a muffler that unfortunately looked kind of like stock. It was actually one of our old truck muffler cans, a stainless can, 5x10. And the inlet and the outlets were on the same end. So what happened was the exhaust went down through the center of the can. There's a huge dead air space at the end where it turned around and came back through and went out. And we made, I think, 8 or 9 more horsepower untuned than at the rear wheels than stock. It was the same sound level as stock at idle and only 1 dB louder at 3,000 RPM. And basically we couldn't give them away because people said, "Oh, it makes great power, but it looks like stock." "Oh, I love that sound, but it looks like stock." What do you want? Oh, we want them moto mufflers. You mean the ones that upset your guys that you're camping with because they're so noisy? Yeah. So I've got a new design that I'm working on that we'll be releasing at some point in the future. But along with some new mufflers for Harleys that I've been working on that are quieter, but have and again, not to beat on anybody's chest, but these are the bitchinest sounding things that we have ever built.
Nice.
They're quieter, but they've got this really, for lack of a word that sounds like our deep and throaty mufflers, this is rich. It's really deep. It's just a real quality sound, and I'm so happy. And I think that same technology, I'll be able to apply it to these side-by-sides and get a good sound that doesn't look like stock.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But yeah, I'm hoping that that we continue. That's what we're trying. We're not, I forget what the SEALs say. There's no future in yesterday. But I don't know how to spell the word quit.
Oh yeah, that's good.
We've toughed through some really horrible times, and we're so blessed down here. COVID came, and everybody, especially out in this wonderful state, said, "Oh, you got to shut down. You can't have people coming to work. Blah 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 blah. Unless you're essential."
Yeah.
Well, essential was a few things, and we weren't sure we qualified as essential, but we qualified as what was called strategic. Strategic meant, in our case, that you produced or processed non-ferritic materials. Well, that means not iron. Well, stainless steel is a non-ferritic material, so is aluminum. Well, we process that stuff. In fact, we cut, weld, and bend stainless every single day. And some of the stuff goes into truck exhaust. So if you did that, you were considered strategic. If you were strategic, you could be considered essential. So, but we had to have letters. I had to get a letter written by an attorney to give to all of my guys. Because if they lived outside of Orange County and you got pulled over, let's say in LA County, and they said, "Hey, where are you going?" "I'm going to work." "Do you have a letter of authorization?" "No." They give you a ticket, which is crap. "I'm going to work." "No, you're going home." Perfect. So I got letters so that they all could have. I had to get another letter from an attorney so that UPS and FedEx would still come here and pick up and drop off stuff, right? Which was kind of necessary for us. And then one other thing I had to have, I can't remember what it was, but another letter of some description for something. And then we were still worried. So I had a friend we parked 2 trailers in the back parking lot back there in the back end of it by the 3rd building. And a semi-truck could pull through, but that's all. So everybody parked behind those trailers. So if you drove by this building, the gates were closed at 7:05. If you drive by this building, looked like nobody was home. For the first 2 weeks, I just didn't want any problems. And because how do you explain that you're strategic or essential to somebody that just doesn't know squat?
Yeah.
Except that you go tell those people they got to go home, right? So, gates close. The fire department comes one day. "Hey, you guys, we need to do an inspection." Went through here, and by then we had already were aware that we sprayed everything down with isopropyl alcohol 4 times a day, all the eating areas, the urinals, the toilets, the doors, everything. We canceled the food truck. Everything that we could do to prevent, guys started wearing masks. Fire department came through and went, "You guys are okay. You're doing a good job. You're all right." "Okay, cool." So we opened the gates up and just continued life as normal. And then when we did have one guy get sick, his mom was sick, he got sick. He got the guy that carpooled with him sick. That guy came in contact with 2 people here at the shop. They got sick. So one day we panicked and thought, what are we going to do? So we thought, well, it takes 3 days for you to show symptoms. Let's just not work Friday because we're working overtime. So no work Friday. Let them come back on Monday. And anybody that came in contact with any of them, we're going to send them out and get them tested. And we found these ready labs, or whatever you want to call them. You know, the places if you cut your finger, you can go in and get fixed.
Oh, like Care Now or
Like a minute clinic kind of thing?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Some of them around here started doing the rapid testing, where you could get results in less than 24 hours, right? That's perfect. The problem was Kaiser, who we belong to, would do it for free if you showed symptoms. You get your results in 7 to 10 days. Quickie Lab would do it in 24 hours, cost between $180 and $200.
Wow.
So we spent thousands of dollars on guys, but they were able to come to work the next day, or even that day, come back to work, because they were fine, you know. And it was worth it because you were there, you were out there. You see, we don't have people standing around waiting for something to do. This isn't like a football team where you got the guys on the field and the guys on the bench waiting to replace guys that get hurt. Not like that. Everybody here is a critical piece of the puzzle. We couldn't afford to have that piece gone. So we just paid, and they were here, and we made it through. We still have a couple of guys. Every once in a while we'll get hit with this stuff because it's just a fact of life. Yeah. I can only control the environment here. I can't control the environment at their home or where they go to shop or anything like that. And everybody's all freaked out about this stuff and, the new variant and all that. It's like the flu. The flu's been around a long, long time. People die from it every year. This is another variation of that fortunately or unfortunately has got the attention of the the people in D.C. Who've decided this is a bitchin' thing to control the people of America with.
Oh yeah, definitely that.
You know.
Well, I'm glad you made it through, man, because I know that was a scary time for everybody. I also know there was a big resurgence or boom in spending. You know, after the checks started coming in for certain people, and all the PPE and whatever else it was people were getting. But right now, I feel like the industry's going through like a little bit of a recession, if you will, where people are still ordering things, but you still have supply chain issues. You still have being able to fulfill orders, and there's just still so much on the table that we're all recovering from these last couple of years. But I'm still optimistic. I mean, it's kind of nice right now with Harley not producing as many bikes. It's kind of made the used market a lot better for sellers. It's also made my bike now more valuable because there's not as many baggers available. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I dig that aspect of it. I'm glad I'm not looking for a bike right now because then I'd be kind of screwed. But I'm just, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing how we all come out of this 5 years from now. Because I still feel like some things are going to happen to certain brands, where it does end up getting them. Things that took place 2 years ago is going to catch up, and then, you know what I mean?
Right.
Unfortunately, I think that'll end up happening for some people, and I think some people are going to, just probably be over it. Like, I'm done with the motorcycle industry. You know what I mean? So.
Well, unfortunately, that's been going on for a really long time.
Yeah, it's been forever. Yeah.
They come and they go. They're here. They're flashing the pans. We see it. In the exhaust system side of things, it's like, oh yeah, this is the new really cool stuff. It's like a friend of mine, he's in Texas, from Texas, that used to be involved in go-karts. He's probably one of the smartest guys when it comes to expansion chambers. And he quit because he called it the Pipe of the Week Club. If you're the pipe that week, well, people will buy your stuff. But hey, if there's somebody comes out with something that's maybe on that day, on that bike, on that track, they were 0.03 of a second quicker. Well, that's the thing I gotta have.
Yeah.
And then, but were they a month from now? Oh, they're gone. And same with this. Guys that are like with the stainless thing, people came. Oh, I can do that. And you see their stuff, and it's all pieces welded together because unfortunately, they don't have benders like we do, or people that know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
So they buy stainless bends. They don't know what alloy or what they're getting. Weld this stuff together. They don't know that Harleys vibrate a little bit and that people ride them, and that maybe the stuff will crack or break, or they need to concern themselves with that. And then what happens is it's a pipe of the week, but a month from now, oh yeah, didn't you have that thing on there? Yeah, but it broke. So I had to get something else. And then they're gone, Yeah, we have issues down here too. I'd guess that the bracket that we're now sending out on our Dynapipes is probably, I don't know, the 10th revision. And every time we changed it, we made it better. It's like a chain with a weak link. You fix that one, and then you find out where the next weak link is, and you fix that one, and
Yeah, keep it going.
keep it going until there are no more weak links. And I think that's where we are now. But we did that. I know one of our competitors has got a bracket problem with the pipe that they make. They're making the same bracket that they made 20 or 25 years ago. They haven't changed it. It's just, well, that's the bracket. But wait, it breaks. So
Yeah.
we'll sell the guy another one. Okay. Good. That's one of the reasons why I think that we are doing as well as we're doing, why we kind of took over the Dyna market, because we made stuff that not only made power, but you didn't have to worry about stuff breaking. And if it did, you call us.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many brackets that we sent out taking care of people's problems because we don't have one. There's a girl, 2 of them were here last week. They rode from Canada down kind of a sideways route into Mexico and back up through Arizona and coming this way. Well, her bracket broke and her muffler came off of a Dyna. She came here. I don't know if she called first or looked us up or whatever, but came here. Put her bike up on the stand, put a new muffler on, put one of our brand new channel brackets on, and she was so happy. But that's what we are. That's what we do.
You care about it.
We care. Take care. People are human beings. If you want to get treated like poo, you treat people like poo. If you don't, you get what you give. Around here, we just give all we can.
For sure.
You know,
You said earlier you don't put out junk, not from here.
not from here.
Could you imagine being a company that your bracket is so flawed that there's another company that came along just to make that? There's a company that exists to fix what you refuse to correct.
To address,
on your
yeah.
end. Like that blows my mind, and that's you guys are the opposite end of the spectrum. of that.
Honestly, we actually thought about doing that, but since they tell people that they make stuff for us, we thought we're not even going to cross that bridge.
Yeah.
Because they don't.
Yeah, that's wild. Well, obviously this podcast it won't come out until July sometime, but the Bassani brand will be represented at Born Free. And are you planning on being in Milwaukee for the race?
You bet.
Dude, that's going to be a good one, and I think a lot of people will finally get a chance to maybe shake your hand if they don't have cooties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the Milwaukee race. I've been there. I was to homecoming. I think 2 years ago we were at not House of Harley, Suburban. We were at Suburban Harley because that's where the drag track was. But Gary was at who's the other Harley dealer that's around Milwaukee? Not House of Harley. There's somebody's name.
I don't know personally.
He was there.
Yeah.
He was there with our stunt guys, and it was really good.
Yeah, that's good.
Really good. Yeah,
Well,
we're looking forward to it. I think that this is going to be an eye opener for a lot of people because there's going to be a lot of people there, and unlike Sturgis, where there's bands and all the other stuff that you can go and do, Milwaukee isn't quite like that. Sturgis has got this
Carnival feel to it.
you got it. It's like this mystique. Like it's like the place you got to go, right? Have you ever been to Sturgis? No, but we're going this year. Oh yeah. Have you ever been to Homecoming? Well, no. I don't. What is it? Or yeah, we go every year. It's different.
Yeah.
But because it's not a carnival, and there is a museum and some pretty cool stuff. I think the fact that we're going to be there, the BRL, and these people that ride Harley Davidsons are in town
Yeah.
because they ride Harleys, and they're going to get to see Harleys on a racetrack. And I'm not sure, I've never been there, but I think that you can see most of the track.
Yeah,
from
it's
this.
like a bold grandstand type situation, and everything's infield, so you should be able to see all the racing.
That'll be bitching because at Sonoma and Utah, there's no place that you consider
There's
stand
terrain, yeah.
where you can see everything. Milwaukee's going to be different.
And so the other thing, right before we start wrapping this up, I wanted to talk about real quick is that, you know, you guys sell exclusively through drag. So people that can get your pipes are usually going to be going through some type of brick and mortar or at least online vendor that is a drag specialties retailer.
Retailer, correct.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I think. I didn't know that today. I didn't know that you guys didn't sell direct. I found that out talking to Gary. So that's cool. Just so that everybody knows if they want to get a pipe, you know, that's the way you got to get through it.
Exactly. No, I've always believed in the dealer.
Mm.
They're the heart of the motorcycle industry.
Mm-hmm.
And the motorcycle industry, fortunately, has not been price hoed out like the automobile business.
Mm-hmm.
We were there too, and we have very strict
MAP policies.
MAP policy here, because we do want to see that the dealers and the brick and mortar guys can survive. And what they sell stuff for is their business. What they advertise it for is our business. And we don't want them to advertise stuff and not a penny below MSRP, because that way it kind of makes everything even.
Makes people choose choose who they want to spend their money with based on other factors other than their saving
Price.
money. Yeah.
Exactly. And it helps. And yes, we are exclusive to drag, and what that means is that our products are sold through either online or brick and mortar retailers, resellers, and those guys get it from Drag Specialties. And there are a few dealers out there that can't, because of the qualifications, deal with drag. We take care of them, but we don't undercut drag's prices, and they have to pay freight. We don't. Where drag has dealers where they take care of that. So our relationship with drag has been nothing but good.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we don't do any backdoor or any direct selling ourselves, the reps like us, and so does drag, and the dealers like that too. Because when a guy does call down here, and yes, we do, we get calls every day. Hey, where can I get your stuff? Do you have a Harley dealer in your area? Or we'll say, go to the website and there's dealers on there, or go to Drag's website.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to find a reseller that handles our stuff that's local to you, that you can get it from.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, Darryl, man, I really appreciate you sharing this this history of this brand. And, you know, we all see it now as the flashy, stainless steel pipe on one wheel or going around a track. But, you know, there's a history to all this stuff, and it's been awesome hearing it, man. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been, I never planned on being the longest surviving company in the motorcycle exhaust system business, but we are.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I think the reason we have is because we do care, and I'd like to think that we build as good as you can buy.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, it's stuff that I would buy myself.
Mm.
And we take care of the people that do buy our stuff, and I think that's one of the reasons why people are so faithful to the brand.
Yeah.
We've got guys that we hear about that send me emails, or Gary, and that have been customers of ours in one way or another for 20 or more years.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's pretty neat. Makes me feel really good about what we've done down here.
Well,
you guys have a world-class organization, man, top to bottom. Can't thank you enough for having us in.
Mm-hmm.
And, go buy a Bassani pipe, everybody.
for sure.
You know, and what you just said about world-class, yes, thanks to Drag, which has parts Europe. You know, my wife and I were lucky enough to go to Italy. I'm Italian. And we were in Italy. This was 2 years ago. And I wanted to just go into a couple of dealerships just to see what it was like.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were in, they call it Firenze. Can't remember what English people call it. But we were there. And I went into the Harley dealership. I went there and had to get a cab ride because it was a ways from where we were staying. And they didn't appear to be open. But what I didn't realize was, just like in France and other countries in Europe, they closed for lunch from like 12 to 2 or something. So I went back the next day. And I walked in, and I said, I had a Bassani hat on. And I said, hi. And the guy says, can I help you? And he spoke to me in English. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, how did he know to speak to me in English? Do I look that American? You know, I guess I do. And I said, yeah, I just want to stop in and say hi. And I handed him a card. And he looks at the card, and he looks at me, and he looks up at the hat. He goes, is this you? I said, yeah. He turned around and he was standing right in front of the door in the service department. He yells back to the guy in the service department, hey, Darryl Bassani's here from Bassani. Darryl Bassani, he's here. I'm like, God, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, that's wild.
Man, to think that, you know, that people recognize you that far away from home, and they're like, we sell your stuff. Like, wow.
Yeah, that's
badass.
Pretty
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So, yeah, I was pretty, not only blown away, but happy about that.
Yeah.
And then he sent us to a restaurant run by a guy that they know that brings his bike in. That's a Harley guy. He's a biker. He has his bike shipped here once a year. This is pre-COVID. Shipped here. He rides around the U.S. and then goes back to Italy. But he said, you like good food? Yeah. This guy's good. Here. Calls him up, and he's talking to, the guy on the phone is talking to like an interpreter guy who speaks Italian and English, who's talking to me, and it's like, what time, how many people, what do you want, blah, 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 blah. Goes, you're there. So we instantly have a reservation in this place where they're like hard to get.
Yeah.
And walked in, it was like going back home.
Yeah.
It was just freaking amazing.
And as cool as that was to you, and obviously you've got a great memory of it, the guy that put you guys up that night, I guarantee you it blew his mind even more to have you there and take care of you.
Yeah, to be able to give you.
He took us to, well, first of all, went in and to the restaurant. We found that, and you know, over there, you don't have these big neon signs. Maybe there's something on the door. So we go in, and we're in this little like entryway, and there's pictures all over the walls. Like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I see the guy. I'm like, I think that's him. So I said, I knew his name. I said something. He goes, yeah. I said, I'm Bassani. Oh, he jumped up. Hey, welcome, and here, come on, let's go to the restaurant. I'm like, I thought we were already there. Oh no, going to the restaurant. The one we were at is like where people walk in off the street. No, if you're somebody that he knows, he's got another one about 2 doors down the street where it's like unbelievable. We go in there and get treated like kings.
Yeah.
I was telling my son and my wife, I said, you know, sometimes it pays to be Darryl. You know, so he took us to where he keeps his motorcycle so he could show it to us. Mm-hmm. And God bless it, it's like this cave. It was like a roll-up door industrial thing, but all stone and everything, and it had wine stacked up on pallets like 6-8 feet tall. It's like unbelievable. And here was this Harley in there. Mm-hmm. A Softail. Was not the new Softail, a twin cam, but a bitchin' motorcycle, a lot of hand-built parts on it.
Nice.
And, you know, like, this is pretty cool.
That's
He's
badass.
proud to show us, and I was so pleased that he thought enough of us to take us down there and show that to us.
That's awesome, man.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Well, once again, like I said, thank you for this, and you know, I just want to. Yeah, it was an awesome podcast. It was great to hear all this stuff and the story, and just even a little bit of the knowledge behind what it takes to make a good running pipe. You know what I mean? So I think this was an action-packed podcast with stories and knowledge.
Well,
so.
Thank you for that, and thank you guys for taking the time to stay to be with us here. First of all, to come by and see us, and also let me just say that your bike, and not just because you're here and we just did this, your bike is bitchin'.
Thank you.
The paint on it is really nice. You know, when we got that bike, the Indian from Kerry Hart, It was like, wow, this thing's pretty neat, because some of these painters just go so over the top with all this stuff. It's like you can't even take in everything that you're seeing, because it'd take you a day to go over this thing.
Yeah.
Like a little piece at a time, to take in everything that they did. That's pretty cool. But also something that's just a little simpler, but just clean and really nicely done.
Thank you.
And your bike is all of that.
Well, I appreciate it, Darryl. Yeah. Everybody go check out Bassani Xhaust on Instagram. Is that how it?
I think so, yes, Bassani Xhaust.
And then a website. But like I said, check out, find the dealers, get these pipes on your bikes, and enjoy the road. All right. Thanks, Darryl.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Man, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I had an amazing time there at the Bassani factory, hanging out with Gary, hanging out with Darryl himself. They put on the black chrome exhaust that's been on my bike for the last month or so. Love it. Love the finish. Check it out. Check them out. Support a rad ass company like this. Also support all our sponsors for this episode. Simpson motorcycle helmets, thundermax, House of Harley, Lexan. Man, fuck with them. Lucky Days, all great people out here to make your life better. We're winding down on all the podcasts that we got on this trip. I still have 2 awesome ones left for you guys. I want to thank you. It was an amazing experience to go out there and do this. And, you know, a lot of that was made possible by our Patreon, which is somewhere you can go support this podcast and also get a lot of unreleased content. It's no lie, I've been doing this podcast now for almost 4 or 5 years, and my goal is to go full-time with this and continue to create better content and bring on more people to expose to this awesome world of motorcycling, or expose to you, the listener. And you know, it just takes a lot of time, and you know, takes money to do shit. So all your support is appreciated, even if it's just rating and review it on the podcast apps you're checking it out. It all helps, and I thank you for all of it. Next episode is going to be with the Goo. Maybe you follow him on Instagram. He's a great dude. Finally got to meet him. Finally got to nerd out on his awesome bike. He's always had sick-ass bikes, and can't wait to bring that story to you guys. So we'll see you back real soon. Have a good one. Peace.